Welcome everyone to our deep dive. You ready to explore the world of special ed? We're going to be taking excerpts from teaching students with special needs in inclusive classrooms, and we're going to be unpacking a lot of different things,
Excited.
from how we even define disability to the laws that shape this field. It's going to be a really fascinating deep dive. So are you ready to get started?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. So one thing that really struck me when I was reading through the material was how we try to define disability. There's a definition for it.
Right.
But this book really emphasizes that it's a lot more nuanced than just a simple checklist.
Yeah, it's not just a yes or no kind of thing.
Right, exactly. And it actually talks about these different, lenses, I guess you could say, for viewing disability: the deficit perspective, the cultural perspective, and the sociological perspective.
It's like looking at it from different angles.
Yeah, each one kind of gives us a different understanding of how we approach and understand differences.
And respond to them, yeah.
Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting how, the deficit perspective, it almost pushes us to, measure human traits. And anyone who falls below average is somehow deficient.
Yeah, it's like we're obsessed with quantifying everything, and that can be really dangerous, especially when it comes to something as complex as human ability.
It makes you wonder how much of our perception of disability is shaped by these societal norms and expectations.
Absolutely. It's like we've created this system where if you don't fit in a certain box, you're automatically seen as less than.
And the book even mentions a study where teachers, they were more likely to view students with learning disabilities as less intelligent even when their academic performance was similar to their peers.
It's heartbreaking to think about the impact the kind of bias can have on a student.
Yeah, and it makes you think, can we shift our thinking and start valuing differences instead of always trying to fix or normalize them?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Can we create a world where differences are celebrated rather than stigmatized?
That's what we should be striving for. And speaking of shifting perspectives, let's talk about how special education itself has evolved over time, because it wasn't always about inclusion and the least restrictive environment.
No, not at all. It's been a long and complicated journey.
Yeah, for sure. And, we've gone from these segregated programs, separate but equal, which we know wasn't really equal at all,
Right.
to this idea of inclusion.
Yeah. It's about recognizing that every student deserves to be a part of the community and to have their needs met.
And in the book, there's this really powerful story about a man named Paul who lived through that era of segregation. And his experience really shows us the limitations of that system.
It's one thing to talk about it in theory, but when you hear a personal story like Paul's, it really hits home.
He talks about feeling isolated and excluded, and how it affected not just his education, but also his self-worth.
Yeah, it's a reminder that inclusion is about so much more than just physical presence. It's about creating a sense of belonging and fostering a positive self-image.
It's about feeling valued. And legally, this shift towards inclusion, it was really solidified with the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA.
IDEA is a landmark piece of legislation. It guarantees a free appropriate public education, or FAP, for every student with a disability.
Yeah, and it's been so important in making sure that students with disabilities have access to an education that meets their individual needs.
It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. It's about recognizing that each student is unique and deserves an education that is tailored to their specific strengths and challenges.
So IDEA lays the groundwork, but what does it actually look like in practice?
Well, we're talking about IEPs as individualized education programs.
Right.
The IEP is a roadmap for a student's education.
Okay.
It outlines the specific services and supports that a student will receive. It's developed through collaboration between the student, their family teachers, and other specialists.
So it's a team effort.
Absolutely. It takes a village to support a child's education, especially when that child has a disability.
And those services can range from things like occupational therapy and speech therapy
Right.
to assistive technology and counseling.
There's a whole spectrum of support available. It's about finding the right combination of services to meet each student's individual needs.
And the book actually mentions that IDEA isn't the only legal avenue for supporting students. What about those who don't necessarily qualify for special education services under IDEA,
Right.
but still need some additional support?
That's where Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act comes in.
Okay.
This is a powerful tool and often underutilized.
Really?
Yeah, it offers accommodations for students with a wider range of needs, even if they don't meet the criteria for a specific disability category under IDEA.
So, imagine a student who has a chronic illness that affects their attendance or their ability to keep up with coursework. Section 504 could provide them with accommodations like extended time on assignment, or modified homework loads, or even excused absences for medical appointments.
Exactly. It's about leveling the playing field and making sure that students with diverse needs have the opportunity to succeed academically.
So we've got IDEA IEPs in Section 504. It feels like we're building a toolkit for understanding the legal framework of special education.
It's a complex landscape, but these tools are essential for advocating for students and ensuring that they have access to the support they need to thrive.
Yeah, and it's about making sure that every student has the opportunity to reach their full potential.
Absolutely. That's the ultimate goal.
So now that we've laid this foundation, I'm really curious to dive deeper into the diverse tapestry of student needs that we encounter in classrooms.
Me too. Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we've laid this really solid foundation. We've looked at the legal framework that supports special education and how IDEA, IEPs, and Section 504 all kind of work together in practice. But now I'm really curious to delve deeper into the diverse tapestry of student needs that we encounter in classrooms. The textbook highlights all these different disability categories, and I think it's time we kind of unpack some of those.
Yeah, let's dive into those different categories. It's important to remember, though, that those categories, they're just starting points.
Yeah,
Each student's experience is going to be so unique, shaped by their individual strengths and challenges and the support systems that they have.
yeah, absolutely. And the book actually categorizes disabilities by incidence. So you've got high incidence disabilities, which are more common, and then low incidence disabilities, which affect a smaller percentage of students. Let's start with those high incidence disabilities like learning disabilities, which I know a lot of educators encounter regularly.
Yeah, learning disabilities can really manifest in a variety of ways, affecting reading, writing, math, or even a combination of those areas.
Yeah.
One of the most compelling examples I think that the textbook gives is about a student named Sarah who struggled with dyslexia.
Oh, interesting.
Her teacher ended up using these multisensory techniques, incorporating visual aids and manipulatives and even movement into her lessons.
Wow.
And this approach not only helped Sarah to decode words, but it also boosted her confidence and her engagement in learning.
That's incredible. It's such a powerful example of how, targeted interventions can make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
And it highlight how important it is for teachers to be skilled in identifying and addressing those diverse learning needs.
Early identification and intervention are so key.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And another high incidence category is speech and language impairments. And I know these can range from difficulties with articulation or fluency to even challenges with understanding and using language effectively.
Right.
And I know the book mentions a technique called scaffolding as a really powerful tool for supporting students with those speech and language impairments.
Scaffolding is awesome.
It is. It's so helpful.
And it's really just about, breaking down those complex tasks into smaller steps, providing prompts and cues, and then gradually fading those supports as the student gains mastery.
And that's something that can be helpful for all learners, not just those with disabilities.
Exactly, right. It's about meeting students where they are and guiding them towards greater independence.
Love it. Okay, so we've got learning disabilities, we've got speech and language impairments. What's the third high incidence category that the book focuses on?
The third one is ADHD, or Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, and that falls under other health impairment in IDEA.
Okay.
It is important to note, though, that not all students with ADHD will qualify for special education services.
Gotcha.
Some might receive accommodations through Section 504 instead.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the book talks about the importance of creating structured and predictable environments for students with ADHD, as well as incorporating movement and those frequent breaks into the school day.
Yeah, those are great strategies. We also need to think about how our teaching methods can either support or hinder a student with ADHD, like providing really clear and concise instructions, using visual timers, offering opportunities for movement. All of those things can improve a student's focus and engagement.
Yeah, it's about creating an environment that's both stimulating and supportive, right?
Exactly, finding that balance.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about those high-incidence disabilities. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about those low-incidence disabilities, which, while they are less common, they often require more specialized supports.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the book starts with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD. And we know this can present a wide range of challenges and strengths. And I think it's really important to remember to understand the individual needs of each student with ASD, rather than just relying on stereotypes or generalizations.
Absolutely. Every student on the spectrum is so different.
Yeah.
And the textbook shares this really great anecdote about a student with ASD who had a remarkable ability to memorize facts and figures,
Wow.
but he struggled with social interaction and communication. So his teacher really tapped into his strengths by creating opportunities for him to share his knowledge during lessons.
I love that.
And it not only boosted his confidence, but it also helped him connect with his peers.
That's such a beautiful example of how celebrating individual strengths can foster inclusion and create that welcoming learning environment.
Right.
Okay, so speaking of unique strengths, let's talk about visual impairments because this can range from low vision to blindness. And I know the book emphasizes the importance of providing materials in a variety of formats, like print, braille, audio, and digital, to ensure that all students can access information.
Yeah, access is huge. And it's not just about academics either. Students with visual impairments need to develop skills for navigating their environment safely and independently.
Yeah, that's so important. And I know that's where orientation and mobility training comes in, right?
Exactly. Think about teaching students how to use a Shane, how to follow those auditory cues, or even how to read tactile maps. All of those skills empower them to move confidently and participate in their communities.
It's about fostering independence and self-advocacy, which are valuable life skills for all students.
For everyone, for sure. And let's not forget about orthopedic impairments, which can affect a student's physical mobility and require those accommodations and supports.
Yeah, and the book mentions universal design here, creating classrooms and learning materials that are accessible to all students from the get-go. So things like adjustable desks, wide aisles, and clear signage can make a world of difference for students with orthopedic impairments.
Universal design is a game changer because it benefits everyone,
Yeah,
not just those with disabilities. It's about creating a more inclusive and equitable environment for everyone.
I love that concept. And there's one more low incidence category I want to touch on, and that's deaf-blindness. I think Helen Keller's story is a testament to the power of human resilience and the impact of specialized supports.
Helen Keller's achievements are just incredible, despite facing such profound challenges.
Yeah,
And her teacher, Anne Sullivan, played such a pivotal role in her life, using innovative teaching methods and unwavering dedication to unlock Helen's potential.
that's amazing. Their story really underscores the importance of individualized supports and tailoring those to the unique needs of each student. It's about finding those creative ways to communicate, to connect, and to foster learning.
Yeah.
And while we've talked about, quite a few low-incidence disabilities, there are others that we haven't even touched on today, like traumatic brain injury, hearing impairments, or multiple severe disabilities, each one with its own complexities and nuances.
Right. It's a reminder that we're really just scratching the surface of this vast and diverse field.
Yeah.
And it's our responsibility as educators to constantly be learning and growing in our understanding of student needs.
And to approach each student as an individual with their own unique strengths and challenges and aspirations.
Absolutely. We can't let labels define them or limit their potential.
That's a great point. And speaking of, individual strengths and challenges and potential, I think it's time we shift gears and talk about assessment.
Yeah, let's tackle assessment.
So we've explored those legal landscapes of special education. We delved into all those different disability categories, and we even uncovered some pretty powerful teaching strategies along the way. But now I want to talk about something that often gets a bad rap, but is super crucial for supporting student growth, and that's assessment.
Yeah, assessment, it's often seen as like this high-stakes, pressure-filled thing, but it can be so much more than that.
Right.
When we shift our perspective and see assessment as a tool for understanding and supporting student learning, it becomes like this integral part of good teaching.
It's about gathering information, not just about those grades, right?
Exactly.
And the textbook highlights a bunch of different assessment approaches, moving beyond those standardized tests that often dominate the conversation.
Right, because while standardized tests, those norm reference tests can give us some useful data, they often just paint like an incomplete picture of a student's abilities.
Yeah, they don't tell the whole story.
No, they don't.
And the book really emphasizes these authentic assessments, those that allow students to demonstrate their learning in ways that are more meaningful and relevant.
Yeah, think about projects, presentations, portfolios, even those day-to-day observations that we make as teachers.
Yeah,
Those can offer such rich insights into a student's understanding and their progress.
I love that. And the book actually gives this really cool example of a teacher who used student-led conferences as a form of authentic assessment.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so the students were tasked with selecting their own work samples that demonstrated their learning. They reflected on their strengths and areas for growth, and they even set goals for their future learning.
Wow, that's awesome. It not only empowers the students, but it also gives the teacher a much deeper understanding of their individual needs and motivations.
Yeah, it's like they're taking ownership of their learning,
Exactly.
which is huge. And, for students with disabilities specifically, we have to think about accommodations and modifications to make sure that those assessments are actually measuring their knowledge and skills, not their disability.
Right. We might adjust the format of the assessment, provide extra time, or even allow students to demonstrate their understanding in a different way.
Yeah, it's all about leveling that playing field and creating opportunities for all students to really showcase what they know.
And the textbook mentions this technique called Think Aloud interviews as a particularly insightful assessment tool, especially for students with learning challenges.
Oh, tell me more about that. What are think-alouds?
Think Alouds are kind of like peering into a student's thought process.
Interesting.
We ask them to verbalize their thinking as they're working through a problem or a task. And this can reveal those underlying cognitive strategies and pinpoint the areas where they might be getting stuck.
It's like you're becoming a detective, uncovering those clues that can help you tailor instruction more effectively.
Exactly. Another powerful technique is error analysis. So instead of just marking answers right or wrong, we dive into those errors to understand why a student might be making those mistakes.
Oh, so it's about looking for patterns.
Yeah, exactly. Is the student consistently misapplying a certain rule, or are they struggling with a particular concept?
Yeah,
And once we can identify those patterns, we can target our instruction more strategically.
I love that.
We can reteach concepts, provide additional practice, or introduce new strategies to address those specific needs.
Awesome. Okay, so what about portfolios? I know the textbook also highlights portfolio assessments as a really valuable way to track student growth over time.
Portfolios are great. They're like creating a personalized story of a student's learning journey.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, students get to curate a collection of their work samples, reflections, and goal-setting documents showcasing their progress and celebrating their achievements.
And it promotes self-reflection too, right?
Absolutely. It helps them develop that sense of ownership over their learning.
And of course, we can't talk about assessment without acknowledging those high-stakes standardized tests, the ones that often feel like they loom large in the educational landscape.
Right. They're a part of the system, and while they might be necessary, we need to make sure that students with disabilities have those appropriate accommodations.
Yeah, accommodations like extra time or a quiet testing environment or assistive technology, all of those things can level the playing field and allow students to demonstrate their knowledge and skills without being hindered by their disability.
It's about fairness, making sure that assessments actually reflect what students know and what they can do.
Yeah, and ultimately it's about using that assessment data to inform our teaching and make those decisions that actually help move students forward.
It's a cycle of gathering information, reflecting on what it tells us, and then taking action to support student growth.
Assessment when done well. It's a continuous process of learning and improvement for both students and teachers.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, we covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into the world of special education.
We did.
We unpacked those core concepts of disability, explored a ton of strategies and supports that make inclusion a reality.
It's been such a journey. We've challenged assumptions, uncovered hidden strengths, and discovered the power of individualized support.
And as we wrap up this exploration, I really hope you're leaving with a renewed sense of purpose and a toolbox full of strategies to champion the success of all learners.
Inclusive education is a journey, not a destination.
Love that.
It's about constantly learning, reflecting, and adapting to meet the diverse needs of all of our students.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. May your passion for creating those inclusive and equitable learning environments just continue to grow.
It's been a pleasure.